The thing is, I did not think I was hiding anything serious. Of course, I knew how Marco looked at me, and of course I liked it. One smile, two hands on my waist. No scene. My husband was quiet, tired, and too decent to make himself embarrassed. That was what I believed until he walked into the gym and saw exactly who I became. My name is Inez Valera. I was 34, and I worked as the guest experience director at a luxury hotel. The thing is, I knew how to make a room behave, and I mistook that for knowing how to make a life behave. Of course, people called me elegant, calm, useful under pressure, and I believed them because believing them was easier than going home quiet. That night, the service corridor behind the ballroom smelled like lemon cleaner and wet flowers. A bride's aunt had cried near the coat room, two guests had argued over a missing watch, and I had fixed both problems before dessert. One phone call, two apologies. No damage. Theo was waiting outside in his car. My husband had brought flat shoes, my green tea, and the grey wrap I always forgot after late events. He did not say I looked beautiful. He said my left heel would hurt by morning if I kept standing like that. Years earlier, that kind of thing had made me soft toward him. Every Sunday, we used to walk to the small bakery near the park. Theo always ordered one almond croissant for us to share because I once said a whole one made me sleepy. He remembered small things. He remembered them like they were instructions for loving me. That evening, I looked at my reflection in the passenger window before I looked at him. My lipstick had held. My hair still had shape. I wanted him to say something about that. He asked softly whether I still liked coming home with him after events. I heard a complaint. I heard need. I heard him asking me to become smaller after I had just saved a room full of rich people from embarrassment. So I told him I was tired and that he was reading too much into one quiet ride. He did not argue. He only nodded and pulled into traffic. My phone buzzed before we reached the second light. Mila had sent me a photo from a boutique gym, all mirror walls and blue lighting. She said she knew a trainer there who could make anyone look expensive in 6 weeks. Of course, I told myself I saved his number because I needed discipline. One message. 2 seconds. No reason to mention it. The gym was above a juice bar on a street where everyone walked fast and looked slightly disappointed in the weather. The stairs smelled like rubber mats and orange peel. I remember that because I was still telling myself this was practical, and practical things need details. Marco Bellini met me at the reception desk with a tablet in one hand and a lime green shaker bottle in the other. He did not look at me the way hotel guests looked at me. Guests looked because I controlled their comfort. Marco looked like he had already decided I was interesting before I had earned it. The thing is, after years of marriage, that kind of attention can feel like proof. Not love, not even desire, just proof that you are still visible in a room. He asked about my goals. I told him I wanted strength, posture, energy. He said my posture already had confidence, but my body had learned to protect stress. He said it in front of the receptionist, and she glanced up like his words had weight. Of course I liked that. At home, Theo asked how the consultation went. He was at the dining table with building plans spread in front of him, a pencil tucked behind his ear. He did not look up right away. That was one of Theo's ways. He could be listening and still look absent, which meant I could punish him for not giving me the correct version of attention. I told him it was fine. He asked what the trainer was like. I said he was professional, which was not a lie, but it was not the full thing either. Then Theo asked whether I wanted him to come with me sometime. He said it casually, as if he was offering to carry a bag. I heard supervision. I heard fear dressed as helpfulness. So I told him the gym was my space, and that not everything had to become a couple activity. He said he understood. Then he went back to his plans and the pencil moved again. One answer. 2 quiet people. No fight. The first real lie came the next Thursday. Marco had corrected my stance during a weighted squat. He stood behind me, close enough for me to see both of us in the mirror. His hands touched my waist, then my ribs, then returned to my waist with the kind of calm that made it seem normal. He said my body listened faster than most people's. Another woman nearby looked over. I pretended not to see her. My phone rang in the stairwell outside the spin studio. It was Theo. He asked whether I still wanted dinner because he had stopped near the noodle place I liked. His voice was ordinary. No accusation. No drama. Just dinner. Marco was waiting downstairs. Music thumped through the wall. My face was warm from training, and I could still feel where his hands had corrected my posture. Of course, I told myself that meant nothing. Trainers touched people all day. People paid for that. I told Theo the session was running late. He asked whether the class was not supposed to finish at 6. Specific. Factual. That was Theo when he was unsure. He did not attack. He built a small room out of facts and waited for me to walk into it. I said Marco had added mobility work because my back was tight. Theo was quiet long enough for the stairwell light to blink above me. Then he said he would put the noodles in the fridge. That should have been the end of it. Instead, I went back downstairs, annoyed at him for making me hear my own voice. Mila loved the whole thing. She came to my hotel brunch 2 days later wearing sunglasses indoors, which was one of her old college habits when she wanted attention without asking for it. Kelsey was there too, drinking coffee and reviewing guest notes for a charity dinner we had that week. Mila asked about the trainer with the kind of smile women use when they already know they are encouraging trouble. I told her he was intense and that it was nice to be around someone who noticed details. Kelsey asked whether Theo noticed details. I said Theo noticed broken hinges, parking permits, and whether my tires needed air. I said he was safe. Mila laughed. Kelsey did not. That small difference stayed on the table between us, next to the sugar packets and the hotel linen napkins. Kelsey changed the subject to the charity dinner schedule. Her voice stayed pleasant, but she no longer leaned toward me. The thing is, I did not think I had insulted Theo. I thought I had described the marriage honestly. There was safety in him. There was calm. There was also a kind of quiet that made me feel packed away, like a good dress in the back of a closet. That night, I posted a gym story without thinking enough. Marco was behind me in the mirror, laughing at something I had said. His hand was near my waist, not touching, not fully away. The location tag glowed at the top. I saw Nora's name in the viewer list before Theo's. Nora was Theo's younger sister, and she had never liked messy things. She liked clear bills, clean counters, birthdays planned 3 weeks early. She also loved Theo with the sharp loyalty of someone who had watched him protect their mother after their father died. She messaged me and asked whether the trainer was the same one Theo had mentioned. I answered with a laughing emoji and said she was sweet to worry. Of course, I called it sweet because calling it warning would have required me to stop. 1 tag, 2 viewers. No easy way to pull it back. Open workout night at the gym had a party feeling, but with protein samples instead of wine. Blue lights ran along the mirror wall. Someone had set up a phone tripod near the free weights. The floor smelled like rubber, sweat, and the sharp citrus spray the staff used between sessions. I wore black leggings, a white cropped sweatshirt, and Theo's black gym towel around my shoulders because I had forgotten mine. It was not symbolic then. It was just clean and close to the front door when I left. Marco saw it and asked whether my husband had started training too. I told him Theo liked practical things, not mirrors. Marco smiled and said some men did not know what to do in rooms where they were not useful. He said it lightly. He said it while handing me the lime green shaker bottle I had left in his office. Of course I laughed because laughing made the sentence harmless. Mila arrived 10 minutes later. She hugged me and said I looked dangerous. She meant it as praise. Behind her, Kelsey came in with 2 hotel co-workers because the gym had offered discounted memberships after our charity event. Kelsey waved but stayed near the reception desk. 1 room, 2 parts of my life. No plan. Marco moved me to the weight floor for a demonstration set. He told the small group around us that strength was mostly trust. He said people fought their own bodies because they did not trust being guided. Then he placed 1 hand near my waist and 1 near my shoulder to adjust my angle. I saw myself in the mirror first. I saw a woman being watched. I saw Marco behind me, focused and easy. I saw Mila smiling with her phone half raised. I saw Kelsey's mouth flatten. Then I saw Theo. He was near the entrance in his work jacket, still holding his keys. Nora stood behind him. Maybe she had shown him the post. Maybe he had come to surprise me. Maybe both things were true. His face was not angry. That bothered me more. Anger would have made him ordinary. Anger would have let me call him insecure. He just looked tired in a new way. Marco's hand was still at my waist. I could have stepped forward. Nobody had locked me in place. No one had forced my laugh. The thing is, I had built so much of myself around being admired that stepping away felt like admitting the attention was wrong. So I stayed. Marco asked whether I was okay to continue. He kept his voice professional, but he saw Theo. I knew he saw him because his hand moved away half an inch. That half inch made me angry. Not at Marco, at Theo. I said, indirectly but loudly enough, that my husband should not look so worried in a gym full of adults. I said people trained with trainers every day, and only insecure men made it strange. The music kept playing. A woman near the kettlebells looked down. Mila laughed once, bright and automatic, then stopped when no one joined her. Kelsey turned her phone face down on the bench. Nora did not look at me. She looked at Theo. Theo walked farther inside. Slow. Careful. He picked up the black gym towel from the bench where I had dropped it. For a second I thought he would hand it to me, and I prepared my face for that little public mercy. He folded it once instead. No speech. No scene. He folded the towel over his arm like it was something that had been left behind by mistake. Marco said the room could take 5 minutes. He looked toward the group, not toward Theo. That was the first time I saw how quickly his confidence moved away from risk. Theo asked me quietly whether I wanted to leave with him. His voice did not carry. Only I heard the full shape of it. He was not ordering me. He was not begging either. It was a door held open once. I heard control again. Of course I did. My mother had taught me that men only opened doors so they could decide when to close them. I told Theo that I was in the middle of something and that he should not embarrass himself. There it was. The word that made the room tilt. Embarrass. A man near the cable machine stopped adjusting his weight pin. Kelsey's hotel co-worker whispered something. Mila lowered her phone. Nora's face changed, not with surprise, but with a kind of confirmation, like she had been waiting for me to say out loud what she had already understood. Theo nodded once. One word. 2 witnesses too many. No way to make it private again. After the demonstration, I went to the locker hallway. Theo was waiting near the water fountain. The wall behind him had posters about recovery and discipline. His keys were still in his hand. He said he had not come to control me. He said Nora had shown him the story, and he wanted to see whether the picture looked worse than the truth. That was Theo's quiet debrief. Plain. Clean. No raised voice. I told him he had turned a normal gym session into a performance. He asked whether I understood that I had called him insecure in front of strangers. I said he had acted insecure in front of strangers. He looked at me for a long second, then said he had loved me badly in some ways, but not blindly. That sentence should have stopped me. Instead, I turned it into another insult. I told myself he was finally trying to sound deep because he had no power in the room. The thing is, when someone quiet tells a clear truth, you can either hear it or mock the quiet. I chose the easier one. When Theo left, Nora followed him without saying goodbye to me. Kelsey did not ask if I was okay. Mila came over after a minute and said the whole thing had been intense. Not fun. Not iconic. Intense. Of course, I told her Theo had made it uncomfortable. She nodded, but her eyes moved to the door. That night, Theo did not sleep in our bedroom. He took the folded black towel with him to the laundry room before he went to the couch. The apartment was too clean the next morning. Theo cleaned when he could not speak. Counters cleared, shoes lined straight. The kettle washed even though it had only held water. It made the whole place feel like a hotel room after guests leave, except I was still inside it. The thing is, I was ready for anger. I had answers for anger. I had lines prepared about trust, control, modern marriages, and how women were allowed to have spaces without husbands inspecting them. Theo gave me none of that. He made coffee and asked whether I wanted toast. Of course, I heard punishment in the offer. I told him not to act like nothing happened. He said nothing had stopped happening. He said the gym was only the first time he had seen it with his own eyes. That was not one accusation. It was the pattern. The late sessions, the careful phone tilts, the stories posted for everyone except him, the jokes at brunch, the way I said safe like it meant boring. I told him he was collecting ordinary things because he wanted to build a case against me in his head. He said he was trying to understand when I had started treating his patience like stupidity. The words landed softly, which made them harder to throw away. So I changed tactics. I sat across from him and made my voice gentle. I told him maybe I had enjoyed the attention too much. I said maybe Marco was flirty, but that I had not done anything unforgivable. I reached for Theo's hand across the table because touch used to soften him. He moved his hand to pick up his mug. Not fast, not cruel, just away. 1 reach, 2 inches. No hand. That was the micro-shift. My fake compromise failed because it was not compromise. It was a smaller lie in nicer clothes. Later, he took the black gym towel from the dryer. I was standing in the hallway outside the laundry closet watching him fold it. The towel had a small loose thread on one corner. His thumb found it and tucked it in instead of pulling it loose. He folded the towel once lengthwise, then once across. He put it in the basket with my leggings and sweatshirt. No speech, no lesson. For a few seconds, the apartment went quiet in a way that was not empty. I saw his hands doing the same careful thing they had done for years. Flat shoes in the car, tea after events, tires filled before rain, croissants cut in half. He was still taking care of my life while removing himself from it piece by piece. A door opened in me. It was not guilt, not yet. It was smaller and more dangerous. It was the thought that maybe he was not weak. Maybe he had been staying with a discipline I had mistaken for dullness. Maybe quiet love had been love, not lack. Then I shut it. I told myself he wanted me to see the towel. I told myself he was performing sadness because anger had not worked. Of course, if Theo could not win loudly, he would win by making me feel cruel. That explanation saved me for the rest of the afternoon. By Sunday dinner, I needed my family to agree with me. My mother, Elena, served chicken with too much rosemary in the Valera dining room. Ruby brought wine and watched me the way younger sisters watch when they already know which version of you has entered the room. Theo came because my mother had asked him directly, and he was still polite enough to come. I explained the gym scene as a misunderstanding. I said Theo had walked in already suspicious and made it heavy. I said Marco was a trainer, and trainers corrected form. I said men who were secure did not need to turn every hand placement into a marriage crisis. My mother nodded too quickly. She said men became lazy when women stopped reminding them they could be replaced. She said a woman had to stay admired because comfort was where men buried you. There it was. The old family rule, served with chicken. Ruby put her fork down. She said I sounded exactly like Mom when she was still angry at Dad's dance instructor. She said that was not a compliment. My mother told Ruby not to be dramatic. I told Ruby she was too young to understand marriage. Theo looked at the tablecloth. Then Ruby asked Theo whether he was okay. Not me. Theo. The room changed because of that one direction. Theo said he was tired. He said it without decoration. He did not make it noble. He did not make it sharp. He just said he was tired of being treated like the boring wall someone leans on while looking out the window. I said he was making poetry out of jealousy. Ruby left before dessert. She kissed my mother's cheek, touched Theo's shoulder, and did not touch mine. 1 dinner. 2 empty chairs. No family version clean enough to use. That night, Kelsey took 16 hours to answer a work message she used to answer in 6 minutes. Myla sent only a laughing sticker when I told her dinner had been awful. Theo put his pillow in the spare room. On Saturday afternoon, rain darkened the gym parking lot, and the painted lines shone under the tires. I sat in my car for 4 minutes before going inside. The lime green shaker bottle was on the passenger seat, washed and ready, like a small flag from the life where people still looked at me first. Theo had asked me that morning to skip the session. He did not beg. He did not list the videos or the brunch comment or the dinner with Ruby. He stood by the bedroom door with his work shirt untucked and said he wanted one honest afternoon. He said we could walk to the bakery, not to fix everything, just to speak without an audience. That was his final offer. Clean, specific, almost too kind. The thing is, kindness can feel like a trap when you have already chosen the crueler room. I told him the bakery would not make him present for the last year. He said he knew that. I told him he had made our marriage feel like a quiet project schedule, not a living relationship. He did not deny it. That was the worst part. The one correct accusation sat between us, plain and solid, and Theo had turned love into logistics. He had thought doing things for me meant I would never need him to say much. He had missed the award night 14 months before and sent flowers with a typed card, and some part of me had never forgiven the empty chair. He said he had failed there. Of course, his agreement made me angrier than denial would have. If he had argued, I could have made him the villain. If he accepted it, I had to stand beside my own choices. So I took my gym bag. One offer, 2 people at the door, no bakery. At the gym, Marco was near the front desk talking to the owner. He saw me and smiled, but not fully. Since open workout night, his messages had become neat. Session times, nutrition reminders, small jokes with no risk attached. Agenda, I would call it later if I wanted to sound smarter than I was. At the time, I called it stress. He asked whether everything at home was calmer. I said Theo was being dramatic. Marco glanced toward the owner, then said, "Husbands sometimes struggled when women changed." He kept his voice low. He was already protecting the shape of his own name. Mila was supposed to meet me for coffee afterward. I texted her from the locker area and told her Theo had asked for a bakery afternoon like some sad old movie. I sent another message saying I needed her to remind me I was not losing my mind. 3 dots appeared. Then nothing. A minute later, she sent a grey thumbs up. That was all. The absence was small on the screen. It was not small in my hand. On the weight floor, 2 regular members were near the mirror wall. Kelsey came in with a hotel co-worker to activate her membership. She saw me and lifted one hand, but she did not cross the room. Nora was not there. Theo was not there. I told myself that meant I had space. Marco adjusted a cable machine for me. He was careful not to stand too close. That carefulness stung more than his touch ever had pleased me. I had risked my marriage for attention that was already learning to step back. So I pulled the attention forward. I laughed louder than needed. I asked Marco to check my form again. When he kept his hands professional and brief, I said, loudly enough for the 2 members and Kelsey to hear, that at least someone in the room still knew how to make me feel alive. Marco's face tightened. Kelsey looked at the floor. Then Theo walked in. He had no gym bag, no jacket this time. Just his phone in one hand and the tired calm he had been wearing since the towel. He must have known I would come. Maybe Nora told him. Maybe the location story did. Maybe he had stopped needing to guess because I had become predictable in the worst way. He asked quietly whether that was the life I wanted him to understand. I could have stopped there, even then. Instead, I said he should not come to public places if he could not handle public truth. I said I would not apologize for feeling alive around someone who actually saw me. I said he had made himself invisible and then blamed me for looking elsewhere. That last part was close enough to true to sound powerful. It was also cruel enough to finish what the truth had started. Theo did not look at Marco. He looked only at me. He said he understood. He said he would handle the rest properly. No threat. No legal words. No raised voice. Just properly. The room did not know what to do with that kind of calm. The two members pretended to adjust weights. Kelsey's co-worker stopped whispering. Marco wiped down a machine that did not need wiping. I followed Theo to the stairwell because the quiet was worse than an argument. The stairwell smelled like damp coats and rubber soles. I told him not to act superior. I told him he had been waiting for a reason to leave. I told him if he wanted to punish me for being honest, he should at least admit it. He said he was not punishing me. He said he was done asking me to protect something I kept putting in front of people to prove I could survive without it. That was too clean. Too close. Of course I called it rehearsed. He put his phone into his pocket. The motion was small, but it had the feel of a door being locked from the other side. That was the silent decision marker, though I called it arrogance then. He was no longer negotiating. He was recording time in himself, placing facts where feelings used to be. Back inside, Marco told me we should end the session early. He said the gym did not need personal conflict on the floor. He said it gently, like policy, like I was suddenly a guest causing trouble at my own hotel. I asked whether he was serious. He said he had to think about his job. One sentence. 2 men protecting their futures. No one protecting the version of me I had performed. In the parking lot, I texted Mila again. I wrote that Theo had gone cold and that Marco was being weird. I asked if she could call. She did not. Rain tapped the windshield in small, hard dots. Theo's silence followed me home before I even started the car. Monday morning, the apartment building lobby smelled like floor polish and coffee from the concierge desk. I came in holding a paper cup and my phone, already late for the hotel, already planning how to make the weekend sound smaller if anyone asked. Theo stood near the mailboxes with Nora beside him. A man in a dark coat asked my name. I said it before thinking because people in lobbies ask names all the time. He handed me an envelope and told me I had been served with a petition for dissolution of marriage with temporary financial and property orders. My fingers left a coffee ring on the envelope. 1 lobby, 2 witnesses, no room to perform. The document named our apartment, our joint account, and the first hearing at County Family Court on July 14th. It also named the temporary request for Theo to have exclusive use of the apartment until the hearing. Attached exhibits listed the open workout video, the tagged gym story, screenshots of my messages, and witness statements about what I said on the gym floor. I turned to the concierge and said this was a private misunderstanding. The concierge looked at the service log, then at the process server, and said the papers had been delivered properly. Not cruel, not kind, just correct. Theo did not explain. Nora held a folder against her chest and watched my hands, not my face. I signed where the man pointed because refusing would not make the envelope disappear. Then I stood near the mailboxes until the elevator opened behind me and someone stepped around us to leave for work. Marco deleted the tagged posts before lunch, told the gym owner I had blurred professional boundaries, and blocked my number before I could ask what he had said. I moved into a short-term furnished studio 6 blocks from the hotel, where the sofa smelled like rented fabric. The joint account became restricted to household expenses until the July hearing. Ruby stopped defending me, Kelsey answered only work messages, Nora stayed with Theo, and Mila never asked where I slept. Marco protected his job by making distance look professional. At the hotel, my manager stopped assigning me VIP disputes and said optics mattered. The thing is, I thought being wanted in public would protect me from becoming ordinary. Of course, I did not call it betrayal while it still sounded like applause. 1 trainer, 2 witnesses, no husband. I had turned Theo's quiet into proof that he did not see me, and then I made sure everyone else did. The black gym towel stayed on the laundry shelf because Theo never came back for it. I wanted to be seen so badly that I stopped seeing the man who stayed.